We Australians love our food. It's a part of who we are. As a nation, we have a monster appetite.
We enjoy some of the freshest food in the world.
We're really good farmers.
But by 2050, we're looking at feeding another 15 million hungry mouths. And our weather's likely to get even more unpredictable.
We're at the very frontier of what we're able to produce, so we need to look for new solutions.
I'm Paul West. As a chef, I want to discover the amazing science behind the new food we'll be growing.
And welcome to the world of avocado plants.
I'm Professor Claire Collins. I'm a dietitian.
What are we looking at? Wow, everything's growing on the walls.
I want to see how the latest technology can make our food healthier.
This is the future of protein.
Yeah. And I'm Dr. Nobby Leong.
Does look slightly bloody like mince.
I'll be using my skills as a chemist to investigate the taste of food in the future. This is so weird.
Welcome to the first of two very special catalysts, looking at how, in the decades to come, we Australians are going to feed ourselves. This is the type of farm where I feel right at home. It's small, diverse, it's organic. It's real living off the land stuff. I've always worked in food as both a chef and a farmer, and I'm passionate about where food comes from, how it's produced, and most importantly, how it tastes. That's good.
But what part will farms like this be able to play in feeding our growing population? I'm in search of the innovations that might help us grow more healthy food that's hopefully cheaper and ideally more sustainable. How will Australia rise to meet this challenge? To find out, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone and into the world of tomorrow's food, to the laboratories, hatcheries, and paddocks of the future. In Australia, we eat over 300 million kilos of seafood a year, and it's increasing. How will we continue putting fish on the barbies of the future?
Oh, not a bad looking fish.
Don't be fooled by Dan Richards' laid-back manner.
Yeah, they're really powerful fish.
They take off pretty quick.
There's 25 years of experimentation behind this family-owned farm, close to Kakadu in the Northern Territory.
Have a look at that. The Barramundi, an Australian icon. Dan, that's a bloody big fish. And this is a bloody big fish farm.
Dan helps run the Humpty Doo Barramundi Farm, Australia's biggest land-based producer of barramundi. 2 million fish live in these man-made pools, bordering on a bend of the crocodile-infested Adelaide River. For a long time, there have been concerns about farming fish on this scale. About the environment, the welfare of the fish, and even about the taste.
What you want to do is give everyone the chance to eat.
We've come here because they reckon they do things differently.
Oh, look at them go. Do they always feed like that?
Yeah, look, nothing better for a fish farmer to feed their hungry fish.
As someone outside the industry, when I think of a fish farm, I think of really bad conversion. Like it takes a lot of feed to make a kilo of fish. Is that the case at Barramundi?
No, so barramundi are a very efficient protein converter. From a fish in, fish out viewpoint, it's 1 kilo of what might be recycled fish trimmings from a tuna factory goes into 2.5 kilos of barramundi.
That's pretty impressive.
Barramundi are a great animal in that way. The reason that barramundi are able to be that efficient is that they're a cold-blooded animal that doesn't waste any energy keeping its body at the right temperature. It'll follow the temperature of the water, and we're here in the tropics. The water's always warm, so it's perfect for them.
So in terms of efficiency of livestock production, barramundi sounds like it's pretty good.
Yeah, they are, one of the most efficient you can think of.
The most precious resource on Dan's farm is clean salt water. His fish can't survive without it. Initially, the water came from the river, but now it's recycled. Drawing on lessons from nature, Dan and the team built a vast artificial wetland. About 70% of the site. It filters out the pollution that's created by the fish.
Fish production's famed for producing lots of waste material, runoff, ammonia. So the waste that's created by the fish in these ponds flows out into the wetlands. It's absorbed by plants and reeds and algae, and then that supports an entire ecology of its own.
That's right, yeah. So, there's filter feeding fish and all sorts of things out there that consume all of that nutrients and bring clean salt water back to us as our resource to use again and again. So it's a great outcome.
So you've built a giant natural filter.
Absolutely, yeah.
So how do you manage this scale of barramundi farming? 2 million barra could never live together like this in the wild.
So this is our barramundi nursery.
There's plenty of work for Dan and his team in this nursery.
Barramundi are really aggressive cannibals and predators. They'll eat each other from the smallest size. I've seen them eating each other under the microscope before. So
really?
One's only got to be 30% bigger than his brother, and he'll have a go at eating it.
Every week, they keep the peace by grading 1/3 of a million baby fish.
Oh, look at that,
Just up
straight
and down
through.
Once or twice like
Yep.
that. The small fish will be able to swim through, and our big cannibal monsters will stay behind.
Then it's into different ponds where they're fed again for another week.
Watch out it doesn't take your finger.
Oh, yeah.
And repeat.
There,
You had me going there for a second.
These fish have pretty safe, predictable lives, but every now and then, nature comes calling. Especially when floodwaters bring in crocs from the nearby Adelaide River.
So what's going to happen here, Pete?
Get a snout rope on him, open the door, pull him out, catch him.
That easy.
It's that easy.
Sure it is that easy.
Dan wants to show me their drill for dealing with these visitors.
Oh, have a look at that.
They call in wranglers from the nearby croc sanctuary.
We'll come around the back here, Paul.
The professional croc catchers get to work.
Oh, Kenny.
The safest way for the croc is to cover its eyes.
Is this kind of thing a daily occurrence on the Barramundi farm?
Well, it's not a daily occurrence, but this time of year it's almost a weekly one.
For a crocodile, these barramundi ponds must be like landing in a lolly shop.
It's heaven. Fattest crocs around come from here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interventions here to keep this food factory working. I've really started to appreciate the effort that's involved. But I'm not done here yet. I'm looking forward to seeing how they harvest the fish and then throwing one on the barbie for the all-important taste test.
I'm not sure big farms are going to be the best way to feed us in the future. As a dietitian, I'm interested in how we can get fresh food on our plates as quickly as possible, anywhere in the country.
I'm about to visit a farm that can fit on the back of a truck, and the plants inside grow without any sunlight.
Rain, hail or shine outside, not much changes inside this small farm parked on top of containers at a Brisbane eatery.
Does what's in here hold the secret to the future of food production?
Come in.
Hi. Wow. we got here?
Claire, you've just entered a modular farm.
What are we looking at? Wow, everything's growing on the walls.
On the right here that you see
Yeah.
next to you is a red vein sorrel that we're growing at the moment.
All right, okay. And what are you growing over this side?
Here we have a variety of pak choy. It's called a mini joy, so an Asian green.
Packed into 36 square metres, this hydroponic farm
I know what you got here, basil.
Yeah.
supplies fresh basil and other green leaf vegetables to the nearby market.
Amazing, so you can just pick what you want and
Yes.
nice
yep.
and fresh.
We're an industrial-sized farm. We're able to grow equivalent of about 800 lettuce a week, and we could do approximately 4.5 tonnes worth of kale or spinach, and about 1.5 tonnes worth of herbs a year.
That's really amazing, like just right here in
Right
this,
here,
in
right
this
here.
suburb.
The plants grow in a portable, sealed world that could be parked anywhere, from an inner-city restaurant to a parched outback town. Places where people can't easily get fresh green-leafed veggies. The climate in here is controlled by an app, of course.
What you're able to do is set different types of temperatures for different parts of the day. So when the lights go off, we can set a slightly lower temperature to mimic nighttime temperatures.
Now, you don't often get this many plants growing so densely using traditional techniques.
And we take this to our harvest table.
To maintain photosynthesis, carbon dioxide has to be added to this sealed environment.
So what are we growing today?
So we're going to plant some Southern Cross kale.
And the plants are grown in something we throw away every day.
So these plants really are not growing in any soil at all?
No, absolutely no soil. The vertical system that we use is made out of recycled plastic bottles.
They're wrapped up snugly and placed in vertical towers.
Is there any downside of not having any soil?
No, not at all. Obviously the plants get everything they need from the nutrition we put in our water.
The drip-fed water contains nutrients which are adjusted according to the plant's needs.
That just seems so straightforward and practical.
And all the water's recycled. It takes just 100 litres of fresh water a week to irrigate the whole farm.
It's pretty easy to use that just having a shower.
I know.
Needless to say, insects and bugs are unlikely to get in.
So you don't need any pesticides?
So no pesticides, no chemicals, no herbicides. It's all done relatively natural.
That's brilliant.
And there's never a cloudy day in here, just LED lights.
So the lights basically replicate the sun. So the light spectrum itself is a red-blue light, and it has a near-violet light to it as well. And that gives the plant photosynthesis required to a plant to be able to grow.
You can schedule daytime here to coincide with off-peak power.
That's actually really practical, isn't it? You can grow when you decide.
Absolutely. With power, you can obviously operate your farm predominantly through that off-peak period.
But the cost of creating this world rather dents its sustainability credentials. The energy bill is around $65 a day.
What about the power? Is that an issue?
We're currently working on a off-grid module, and that module will allow the farm to operate using renewable energies like battery storage, solar and wind.
Will we be seeing more of these? I suppose it's more of a system than a farm. You've escaped the hazards of nature, and in places where the natural world makes it very hard to grow fresh food, this could be important.
You've got to wonder about the power usage, but I think for communities where you can't get access to fresh greens, this type of farm could be the way of the future.
Harvest time at Humpty Doo. They can now get these fish from pond to barbie anywhere in Australia in 72 hours. But it wasn't always this efficient. In the early days, they had to do it like this.
What do you just draw them in close to your body?
Yeah, that's right.
Same effort.
First and second slips. Hey. I can't believe I actually caught it.
I think you've just about got lunch for us there, Paul.
Look at that, what a fish.
Nowadays, around 50,000 kilos of fish are sucked out of these ponds each month and flown to markets around Australia. Even so, fish farms like this can't keep up with the amount of fish we're eating now. 60% of barramundi eaten in Australia is imported from overseas.
Well, the crocodiles seem to like them.
I've seen the life cycle, from a little nipper to something ready for your plate. Now for the important bit.
It's a beautiful looking fish.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's got a real nice amount of fat through there.
This is a really well-fed animal. It's got 11 to 12% fat, so it cooks up really well. It's really hard to overcook a farm barramundi.
This isn't a very scientific trial, but as a chef, I know a thing or two about taste and texture. So here goes.
So here it is, flavour time. Looks good, it's nice and moist, smells good. That's some really nice fish. You can taste the fat in it as well, you know. It's a little bit of that saltwater fish flavour coming through, that little bit of a salty flavour. I had a lot of doubts before coming here, I'll be honest. But what I've seen here today has been quite impressive. The feed they're using is from recycled materials, the barramundi are very efficient protein converters, and the runoff from this farm goes into a constructed wetland, so nothing goes out into the greater environment. That's some pretty impressive sustainability credentials.
There are already more people around the world eating farm fish than beef. So if fish farms are going to be a part of our food future, how they're managed and how sustainable they are is something we should all take an interest in.
I love a nice steak, like most people. But as a chemist with an interest in food, I also want people to know the resources that go into producing beef. I'm in Adelaide's Rundle Mall. I've got 20 litres of water and a prime piece of ribeye to conduct an experiment. All I need are some willing participants to answer the question. How much beef could be produced on a farm using this amount of water?
How much beef?
Yeah, so that's a 500 gram steak there.
All of it?
All of it? Yeah.
I'm going to go with your guess. A lot.
A lot.
You reckon that's enough? What, just for that? No, I think it's way less steak than that.
So it's actually less than that. And I've got 10 grams here.
Oh my God.
So do you think that's a more accurate figure? That's what you said.
The fact that you brought it up makes me inclined to drop it. I'm going to go to 1.
It's actually 1 gram. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So 1 gram of beef is produced from just these 20 litres of water here.
That is quite shocking.
Yeah.
That is very shocking,
Yeah. According to a UN report, it takes over 7,000 litres of water for a grazier to produce a 500 gram steak like this.
You just take it for granted, like, you know, we don't even think that far.
And that's just for starters. Cows also need a lot of land, a lot of feed, and they're big producers of greenhouse gases. So is there a way to eat animal protein sustainably? Well, there is a plan B, and it goes rather well with a salad or a stir fry. Insects. I've been eating these for breakfast recently. They're quite nutty, and very crunchy. 2 billion people around the world eat insects. But they have a bit of a PR problem in Australia. People usually think of creepy crawlies. I've invited my friends over for lunch to try out some of these foods of the future. I don't want to scare them off, so we'll start with something familiar. I've got a starter. I've just got some bread here, but I haven't told them what it's made of.
It tastes like rye bread.
Am
I getting that
right? Tastes like rye bread.
So the bread is made out of wheat flour, but also cricket flour.
Surprise, surprise!
It seems people don't mind eating insects as long as they can't see them. Now, to raise the stakes a bit.
I'm dreading this. We all are.
All right, open.
Oh, dear.
God.
It's a mealworm taco, so it's made from...
I didn't think there was going to be that many.
Ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Oh, it's coming out.
I can see a mealworm on your lip. Mealworm larvae can contain as much protein and vitamins as beef, and fewer calories. Less fat than beef. It's a somewhat of a
I like that.
healthier option. They've been eaten in Southeast Asia for centuries.
It's really not that hard to eat at all. Just the visual aspect is kind of a bit of a barrier initially.
I guess if they didn't like that, they're not going to handle a cricket stir fry with some crunchy toasted crickets on the side.
Don't.
I reckon we have to learn to think differently. Kilo for kilo, these so-called creepy crawlies have as much protein and minerals as beef, and they use 10 times less land, far less water, and produce less greenhouse gases.
I can't crunch the legs, so the legs are just dancing in my mouth.
But if beef's still your thing, I'll be sampling an environmentally friendly food that looks, tastes, and even bleeds like a juicy burger.
That's so much better without legs. There's nothing dangling in my mouth.
I understand that we're going to have to think differently about food in the future. Our tastes sometimes change so fast, the farmers, the people who grow our food, can't keep up.
I've just ordered an ugly and fairly tasteless ancient berry that's become one of the most talked about foods in Australia. It's been blamed for millennials not being able to afford a house, and it used to be called the alligator pear. The avocado. It's great on toast. It's a social media sensation with nearly 8 million hashtags on Instagram. 8,000,001. In the last decade, we Australians have tripled our consumption of avocados, from around a kilo each to over 3.5 kilo per person. Demand has risen so quickly, there's a problem with supply. There's a shortage of avocado trees.
I've come to a farm in New South Wales that, despite appearances, is the test bed for some game-changing Australian science.
Ring bell loudly.
Graham Anderson's family has been growing avocados for 70 years, but even with 100,000 trees in their nursery, they can't keep up with demand.
Everybody wants to eat avocados. They know how good they are.
If you order an avocado tree here tomorrow, it'll take 5 years before you get your delivery.
100,000.
No wonder we have a shortage. And here's the reason why.
They get what you call an avocado.
Have a
There's
look
a
at
seed.
that. Wow. So that's where it all starts.
That's where it all starts, yep.
And why this variety in particular for the seed?
What we need is something with lots of oomph in it to get our seeds to grow. Lots of nutrition for our young plants.
Hence the size?
Hence the size.
The way they've been growing avocados here is hard graft, literally. Once a sprout grows from a seed, it has to be grafted onto a sapling from a tree with proven disease resistance.
So why bother with the grafting process?
Well, they never grow true to type. The seeds, you could put 1 million seeds out. You might get one that's a really good tasting avocado.
Right, so 1 in a million.
1 in a million.
So that's no good for anyone really, especially commercial growers who have an expectation to meet.
Exactly.
Every one of the 100,000 trees here has been through this time-consuming process.
Now we've got to insert it into the nurse plant.
Luckily, I'm a quick learner.
If I hold this here and you press the accelerator.
Okay. Whoa!
Yeah.
Whoa.
Let's start again with a little bit of a lower speed. Not towards you, do it away from me. Yeah.
So just work a little wedge.
Yes, that's right. Very gently. That's about far enough.
First day on the job, qualified chef, first plant grafted, 2 fingers cut.
That's not bad, mate.
But my job is far from over. I've just made the rooting stock. When it matures in 3 months, it has to be grafted onto the fruiting stock.
Which is normally at the moment has.
Yep, a successful tree is made from 3 different plants.
So that's from the seed, that's the grafted rootstock, and then you'd graft the actual fruiting variety on top of this.
Exactly.
That's a very involved process.
It is.
So is it the length and complexity of the process that has given us the shortage?
Well, the really big problem is we just don't have enough of that seed that we really need. It's very, very scarce.
So that's the bottleneck.
That's the bottleneck.
That first seed stock. Are there any ways that the process could be sped up?
There is, but you'll have to go to the University of Queensland to find that out.
Yeah, right.
Man, it is absolutely fascinating.
After a lifetime of traditional cultivation, Graham's trialling some new science. I never thought I'd say biology, avocados and stem cells in the same sentence.
You would have heard of human stem cell research. So this is plant stem cell research. It's the same stem cells with the potential to divide. It's the world's first system of tissue culturing avocado this way. It has never happened before.
So this isn't only at the cutting edge of Australian science, this is global leading research.
This is global.
Professor Nina Mitter and her team are using stem cells to speed up production. They're creating robust stock in fewer steps and far faster than Graham can.
What I'm trying to do here is to take very, very small piece of tissue, which has a lot of cells having the capacity to grow into one single plant from each cell.
So how big a piece are you trying to harvest here?
Ideally less than 0.1 millimeter.
So this 0.1 of a millimetre piece of plant material has the potential to make how many adult plants?
Using the process that we have developed, it can produce about 500 plants from that tiny piece of tissue.
500 trees from that tiny little piece of tissue?
Yes.
That is mind-boggling.
The small buds are then placed in a growing solution, specially developed here, which encourages them to shoot and, crucially, to root.
Whoa.
And welcome to the world of avocado plants.
Wow.
In this about 20 square meter room, we have 20,000 avocado plants here.
Each one of these jars are avocado trees in the making.
Absolutely, you can see here, this is how these beautiful avocado plants are growing.
This is incredible, because earlier I was at an avocado nursery in the more traditional sense with 100,000 plants, but it was huge. And so just in this tiny little room, 20,000 avocado plants.
And of course, there's one thing missing in the process here that was causing the bottleneck on Graham's farm.
In this case, there's no seed.
Right.
So we are not using any seed to make these plants.
No seed?
No seed.
So that must represent a significant leap forward in avocado production.
Absolutely. That's where we want a, constant supply of plants without any dependence on season, without any dependence on seed supply, and a absolutely resource efficient way, So there's no land required, pesticides, fertilizers, all that equation is avoided.
And it's faster. The lab can produce resilient rooting stock in around 9 months, compared to the 18 months it currently takes on Graham's farm. It's amazing to think that such a small lab could have such a big impact on the future of avocado production. And what I find even more inspiring is that even with our relatively small population, it's Australian scientists leading the way. What is so promising is that although it's changing the way we breed plants, it's not going to change what really matters: how they taste.
Today I've come to Deakin University to meet someone who's a bit of a pioneer, whose work might change what all of us will be eating in coming decades. I'm excited about it. It might even help make us healthier. It's all about taste. And Professor Russell Keast is going to start by giving my taste buds a quick workout. This looks interesting. Can you tell me about taste?
Certainly. We've got 5 common basic tastes, and
That's sour.
oh, a nice one to start with.
That's
So-
disgusting. Russell has spent decades investigating how taste works.
Try this one, see what that one is.
Sweet, sour, salt, bitter and umami. That's sweet, but that is super, super sweet. These 5 are well established. Oh, yuck. Oh, that is disgusting. That's bitter. Russell and his team's groundbreaking work is helping identify and understand a 6th taste: fat. It's a very hard taste to isolate, and not everyone can detect it. I'm not sure I can, and Russell's made sure I can't smell it. And to tell you the truth, they all taste the same, except for this one. Tastes like soap. Okay, Russell, what was that all about?
So we've just assessed your fat taste sensitivity.
The team has located chemical receptors in the mouth that recognise fat molecules.
Fat taste is real. We are 100% confident in that.
If you hadn't have made me do that fat taste test, I wouldn't have believed you.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm very pleased.
The sensitivity varies between individuals. Maybe this explains why some people eat more fatty foods. All will be revealed after a hearty breakfast and then a special lunch in 4 hours.
Sometimes the future lies in rediscovering the past. I'm back up in the top end of Australia, and I'm on the hunt for something that's been dubbed the miracle fruit.
This harsh environment is home to a humble little fruit that has the highest known concentration of vitamin C on the planet. Today, I'm hunting for the Kakadu plum.
So I've heard a lot about this fruit, Rocky. I'm pretty keen to track some down and have a taste.
My guides are Julian Gorman, a botanist from Charles Darwin University,
Call it gubbinge over in Kimberley.
Gubbinge.
They call it me morale in Port Keats.
and senior Larrakia man, Rocky Lee.
So why do you call it the medicine tree, Rocky?
Well, from my uncles and aunties, grandparents and all that stuff, they and ancestors worked out when they ate this particular fruit, they realised that something good was happening with it.
So what exactly does this tree look like?
It's a broad leaf, fairly bushy, and it's a fairly distinctive looking tree when you see them.
It's towards the end of the wild harvest season, so fingers crossed we find a tree that still has fruit on it. Luckily, as a chef, I know my plums.
Is that one, what about over there? This?
No, that's that there is a green plum.
So this isn't one?
Yeah, well, there's a tree just here. We can.
What, this one straight in front of us here?
No, not this one. This is another one of the natives, but this tree here.
This is it. This is the Kakadu plum.
This is the one.
Wow, what a tree! And where does the fruit? I can't see any fruit here.
No, the fruit usually a lot of it will actually drop onto the ground. That's how we actually get it.
Well, can we get in here and
have a look for one? Eh? Yeah.
Is this something like
that's
here?
a plum there now. That's
look at these.
Yeah, so there's, as you can see.
There you go. The famous Kakadu plum.
Yeah. These are the plums that have actually dropped off.
I can eat that? Oh.
Try it. Just pop it in your mouth, chew it. She's got a slightly
tangy taste.
Oh, yeah.
It's not none.
That's got a real kick.
So.
Yeah, so it's got a real tangy taste because of that really high ascorbic acid.
Julian's been studying the Kakadu plum for 20 years.
So it's, up to 17% dry weight vitamin C.
How much? Sorry,
Well, it's actually 17%, so
wow.
It's the highest known amount of vitamin C of any fruit in the world.
I can't remember when I've had a cold last, honestly.
Yeah, right.
I really can't.
It does taste medicinal, I have to say.
It's
got that little bit of bitterness and the acidity, a tiny little bit of sweetness.
Plus, it's also got these polyphenolic compounds that have antioxidant properties.
That's the same kind of thing as found in red wine, for example, right? There's skins of grapes that gives it its health benefits.
Yeah, so there's gallic and ellagic acid, and those compounds are well known to be effective against cardiovascular disease and cancers and stroke.
Is there an environmental reason why the fruit has these amazing properties?
Yeah, so a lot of these tropical trees, they really get hammered by herbivores, by insects.
Right.
So probably high ascorbic acid is going to turn the insects off.
So it's the harshness of the environment up here that creates this incredible fruit.
Good for cold relief and the heart. It's quite a fruit, this one. I'm heading to the kitchens at Parliament House in Darwin. I've heard they've found a surprising use for the Kakadu plum, which is helping support the local community. The destination for these plums is rather unlikely. They're heading for the lasagna.
Okay, so this is the tomato sauce base that we use for our lasagna.
Kakadu plum lasagna.
Yeah, it's magic.
The Kakadu plum has been freeze-dried and turned into a powder.
That powder's just the flesh and the skin, and it gets mushed down and made into this amazing freeze-dried powder, which is a highly concentrated form, has all those amazing antioxidants in it and that high vitamin C content.
And how much is something like this worth?
We get it for about $500 a kilo.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's big money, yeah.
That's incredible.
So we want to be using it really carefully and in our dishes.
Sprayed some off the end of my finger there. That's 30 bucks off my pay today.
That's exactly right. We'll have to take that out later.
The Kakadu plum is also an amazing natural preservative. It's about to work its magic in the lasagna sauce.
This tiny amount of slurry is going to go into that whole sauce.
Absolutely, yeah. And just that tiny amount, it's amazing what that will do.
According to research from the University of Queensland, this small amount can extend the shelf life of the frozen lasagna from 6 months up to 18 months. This could transform the ready-made food business.
So what is it about the Kakadu plum that gives it that amazing preservative effect?
It has antimicrobial properties in it, which is a fantastic thing for any food product. We looked at it in comparison to a couple of synthetic preservatives, and we found that the Kakadu plum actually performed just as well, if not better, at holding the aroma of a product. And it also was fantastic in enriching the intensity of the meat flavours in the foods. And with the lasagna, it helped to even distinguish and make the layers in the lasagna seem firmer.
Really?
Yeah.
I find this is a really inspiring project, a native fruit being used in a food of the future in a way that benefits the traditional growers.
It's a bit messy. It's
I
my
wouldn't
first day
I
on the
wouldn't
job.
say he's the cleanest chef on the block, but that's all right.
And there you have it, a classic Italian dish sealed with a little kiss from Kakadu.
Maître Corbeau sur un arbre perché.
Lunchtime, and I want to find out how our individual sensitivity to fat might affect how much we eat. We've all had a high-fat breakfast.
Lui tint à peu près ce langage.
Welcome back. It's good to see everyone. So this is really just a thank you for the involvement with the fat taste assessment. So we're just going to bring you out some food for lunch. Feel free to eat as much or as little as you like.
A thank you lunch.
A little bit of a salad.
Okay.
Some corn chips.
Wow, that looks interesting lunch.
This feels more like another experiment. Who else but a scientist would serve a lunch like this?
A bunch of chocolate and nuts, some potato chips, and looks like macaroni cheese. We don't have to eat it all, do we, Russell?
No.
I don't suspect something else. I know something's up.
Some of us here are more sensitive to the fat taste than others, and some people are definitely eating more.
We believe that how sensitive they are to fat is going to be associated with how much food they're actually eating at lunchtime.
Once we're finished, it's time for Russell and his team to measure exactly what we've eaten.
So here we've got the results from the lunchtime study, and what you can see is the people who are less sensitive are consuming about 50% more energy.
Yeah, that's a massive difference,
It's a very large difference.
What I've seen today is that a person like me who has an average sensitivity to the fat taste ate half as much as those who weren't as sensitive. And that's broadly in line with what Russell's science is showing.
I think we want to know how to make ourselves more sensitive.
So the key would be taking a break from fat. So going on to a low-fat diet for a couple of weeks, seeing what happens.
Okay, so if I quit high-fat foods for as little as 2 weeks, when I start eating them again, I'm going to be more satisfied.
That's what we would predict, yes.
The science is in its infancy, but it's exciting to see how appetite and taste are related. It might change the way we eat in the future.
After my friends turned their noses up at my cricket stir-fry, I'm looking for a meat-protein substitute that's super tasty and could go down well at a barbecue. So I'm in Sydney, and we're going to try a product that claims to be meat-like without any meat at all. Hello. Amit, hello. Nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you. Come on in.
Thank you very much. I'm going behind the scenes at Amit's cafe to taste a new kind of burger developed by scientists. My first thought, ugh. So I hear we're doing some sort of plant-based burgers.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to show you, what we think is the future of meat.
This patty, which looks like something it isn't, was developed by a sustainable food company in the United States.
This is the future of protein.
Yeah, it's quite red. It does look slightly bloody, like mince, but it does have a lentily kind of look to it as well, like it's like crushed lentils.
The protein is made up from soy, and then the fats might come in through, say, an olive oil or coconut base. Right. And then, the carbohydrates would also come in through some grains as well.
So how do we actually achieve this meaty texture with the plant?
What we do is we take raw materials like, say, soy or pea protein, and you put them through extrusion machines, and as you push them out into little holes to create fibers, through a combination of high heating and then cooling immediately, you can actually get the protein bonds to cross-sect the way you want. So it is quite high tech, so it's not just the case of, what it used to be of putting a vegetable sort of potato patty and kind of shaping it up. It really, there's a lot of thought that goes into how you can emulate texture now.
All right, so can we make a special Amit and Nobby burger then? Amit was a medical student who took a year off to convert a bakery into a burger joint. How did you get into plant-based proteins?
I took footage of a slaughterhouse to change me. So, yeah, I saw a slaughterhouse. The eyes of the animals were very similar to the patients I was seeing in emergency rooms.
Yeah.
And then I decided to transition the entire concept to being completely plant-based. Wow. Yeah.
To make his burger, Amit wanted mince with a smaller environmental footprint than beef.
You know, if you just think about this in inputs and outputs, essentially you're feeding that cow grains. Instead of, you know, growing all this soy and then feeding it to cows and then raising cows and then killing cows and eating cows, we're just eating grains directly. So it's exponentially more sustainable.
So we're cutting out a whole step to make our burger.
Absolutely. With 9.7 billion people to feed them by 2050, the current way is unsustainable. So, you know, this is a way that is more morally righteous, but you don't need to think about it.
Okay. I'll park my moral righteousness at the door and judge it on taste alone. Thank you very much. This looks delicious. It smells like a proper burger, which is quite encouraging. And I really want to like this. So I'm going to tuck in. Interesting, but it doesn't quite taste like beef. I think it's got more of a porky flavor, but that meaty essence is definitely there. Still, it's nothing like the veggie burgers of old. And the second bite tastes even better than the first. Like, I'm really, really surprised at how tasty this burger actually is. It looks and it tastes like meat. I mean, it's even dripping. More sustainable than beef? Tick. An easier sell than mealworm tacos? Double tick. And if we want to eat more sustainably into the future, and really we have no choice, we've got to find alternatives. Anyway.
Since we set off, Claire, Nobby and I have glimpsed some bold new ways of feeding ourselves in the future. But there's one final place that I want to try and get my head around.
There's nothing quite like the beauty of a vine-ripened tomato. There's something about that rich red colour that's formed as chlorophyll breaks down and synthesises into carotenoids. But these tomatoes aren't grown in a field. This is big farming, indoors, and I'm here to find out if this is the paddock of the future.
I want to try and understand whether this 250,000 square metre greenhouse complex in Victoria could be more sustainable than my backyard veggie patch.
What kind of volume of tomatoes and capsicums are you producing here?
Annually, we produce about 12 million kilos.
Wow. Of both crops or
yeah,
total?
Total volume off the farm.
Chances are you've already tasted a tomato grown here. Half of all tomatoes sold in supermarkets already come from farms like this.
We're growing in here up to 85 kilograms per square metre of tomatoes.
Per square metre?
Yeah, per square metre.
Over the course of a year?
Over 1 year.
Wow. My veggie patch is lucky to produce 10 kilos per square metre in a year.
So, Paul, this is Nina.
Hi, Nina. Lovely to meet you.
Hello, Paul.
Nina is one of the 350 people here turning out the perfect tomato. So how does she do it?
We grow our tomatoes in rock wool slabs. This is rock wool growing medium.
Can I pull a little bit of that?
Absolutely. It feels like a sponge.
Yeah.
Rock wool is a fibre made from basalt rock and chalk.
So here they are, nice and healthy.
The perfect medium for roots to be drip-fed a mixture of water and nutrients.
So with that root mass, you can provide these up to 15-metre tall plants with everything they need, water, nutrition.
Up to 6 of them.
Wow.
So there are 6 trees in this slab. That's the root system. All 6 root systems are here.
So I guess that's the advantage of doing this
hydroponically
rather than in soil, that your density can
be
massively
much higher. Massively higher.
Because this is a closed environment and plants need carbon dioxide, they have to pump it in to keep the factory working.
So that's just air?
Just air,
Oh,
just
you can feel it
pressurized
coming
air.
out. Yeah, right.
Yeah. CO2 comes from those holes and goes up so the plants can uptake it. It's very important for photosynthesis.
To keep a place like this at the right temperature and humidity all year round costs around $500,000 in energy bills, or about 3 cents for every kilo of tomatoes. And the conveyor belt, which never stops, starts here.
These plants dwarf anything you'd see in a backyard. This one's already 5 months old, and it's a monster. You keep following this vine, and away it goes, up it goes, up it goes, until you get to the fruit. Now, they can grow up to 15 metres in length and produce 1 truss of tomatoes a week. And the amazing thing is, they do that on a weekly basis. So we've got these ones ready to go next week, the week after that, and so on, right up to the flowers that are being pollinated. Wow, what a great view from up here in the canopy.
There is a downside for tomatoes growing in a closed environment like this. There are no insects to pollinate them. So Nina has to help out.
So we need to pollinate the open flowers. Pollination happens with the wand.
Okay.
I'll show you how it works.
So you have to manually pollinate?
We need to pollinate manually. So we've got male and female flower. We need to make sure that once we shake the plant, the pollen falls and sets the fruit. Have a close look. When I shake it, you will see lots of pollen coming out. Can you see this tiny little bit coming out? That's the pollen. It's flooding the air.
Really can see that pollen just streaming out of there. And so if you didn't do that in this controlled environment, there'd be no fruit set or very limited?
Very limited, like basically zero.
Right. It's not hugely labour intensive to do one plant.
No.
1 second, but...
That many plants, that takes a while.
Okay. Do you think I could have a bit of a go?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Here we go.
I'm getting in the zone.
Wow, that was a good one.
This factory is all about efficiency, and I want to find out how one very important resource is being used.
Now, I've heard that to grow a field tomato takes around 200 litres of water per kilo of fruit.
That's a lot. We only use 12.
12 litres?
12 litres for 1 kilo of fruit.
So it's a very efficient conversion of water into fruit.
And water we don't use, we recycle, treat it again, and then we reuse it.
I think I've found my job, Nina.
Do you like it?
Yeah, this is good. I could definitely be the pollinator.
Doing a good job.
Good coach. Thanks, Nina.
It might not feel like a very natural world. But is it a price we have to pay for feeding a growing population?
I've snuck a tomato out of the facility because as impressive as this is, I feel like it all amounts to nothing if the flavour isn't there. So it's time to give it the acid test and see what it actually tastes like. That's pretty good. It's actually better than I expected.
So, as our journey ends, what have we taken from our glimpses into the future of food? Well, my hope is we'll mix the old and the new a lot more. That's when things can get really exciting.
I'm excited that technology might help bring fresh, nutritious food to communities that really need it.
I'm looking forward to new tastes, new textures, even if some are a bit crunchy.
But whatever the future of food, I've got a feeling we'll be seeing more farms like this.
And I guess I get conflicting feelings about that because my own experience with growing food has been with the seasons, outdoors, under the sun, hands in the soil, and this is really the polar opposite of that. But like I said, it's pretty hard to argue with the efficiency of it. It's definitely given me something to think about.